Okay, welcome to the first verse of the Haftara. And today we're actually going to look at two verses because we have a very special day, if you will, or a week, because this is the 3 weeks. Let's talk a little bit about these unique 3 weeks. The 3 weeks are known as the 3 weeks of calamity, or in Aramaic, they're called Telata de Puranuta. Three of the calamities, literally. And the weekly portions that we're going to read today, this week, are actually two, both Matot and Mas'eh, and they are part of the 3 weeks, 3 weeks between the 17th of Tammuz and the 9th of Av. And in these 3 weeks, we read parts that are of the prophecies that are related to the prophets rebuking the people. And remember that these 3 weeks are the 3 weeks between the breaching of the wall and the destruction of the temple. And so these are the three of the calamities, by the way, followed by the 7 of consolation, 7 weeks in which we read prophecies of consolation and restoration from the prophets. And basically last week we even though the weekly selected reading was different, we read from Jeremiah 1, and today we're going to read from Jeremiah 2. So we are going to read both these verses and talk a little bit about them. Next week we'll read from Isaiah 1. Okay, and these are the three of the calamities, Telata de Puranuta, and let's read them and talk a little bit about them. Very interesting things about these verses. So let's start with Jeremiah 1:1. I'll read it once regular, once with a melody, and say a little bit about it, talk a little bit about it, and then Jeremiah 2:4. דברי ירמיהו בן חלקיהו מן הכהנים אשר בענתות בארץ בנימין. דברי ירמיהו בן חלקיהו מן הכהנים אשר בענתות בארץ בנימין. And Jeremiah 2:4, once regular, once with a melody, and then talk about both of them. שמעו דבר אדוני בית יעקב וכל משפחות בית ישראל. שמעו דבר אדוני בית יעקב וכל משפחות בית ישראל. Now let's talk a little bit about these. So divrei Yirmiyahu, literally the words of Jeremiah, and the words davar in Hebrew can be either word, as in the collection of the prophecies of one Jeremiah, son of Hilkiah, which is the case of the book of Jeremiah, but sometimes it may mean the events that happened to Jeremiah, okay, the things that happened, the events. In this case, divrei, words of, prophecies of, very common, one of the common terms in the beginning of prophetic books. Okay, mina kohanim asher ba'anatot be'eretz binyamin. Why is it important to know where he lived? I think it's important in order to understand his prophecies. Okay, let me give you an example. So first of all, what do we know about this Anatot? Anatot, we know this is the place where Evyatar, the priest, was banished to Anatot. So there is a possibility that Jeremiah is a descendant of Evyatar, the priest, who was banished there, and he may not have actually served as a priest in the temple. This is the area of Anatot, the village of Anata. I would say, and you can watch the video that we did for the 17th of Tammuz about the geography of ancient Jerusalem, that when Jeremiah refers to Jerusalem as the city dwelling in the plains, and we all know that Jerusalem is actually on a mountain, okay, then in order to understand this comment, we have to understand the map better. And for Jeremiah, who is coming from the north, okay, through the ridge of what would be Mount Scopus, okay, then he actually sees the city of David, okay, when he walks towards Jerusalem, okay, he might see the area of the city of David as area that is like sitting in the plain, okay, because of him being on an elevated area, okay, so he comes from Anata and he sees the area of the city of David, okay, here as sitting in the plain. So that's Jeremiah 21, why Jeremiah refers to Jerusalem as sitting in the plain. Moreover, okay, we have the fact that Jeremiah might have not served in the temple, and hence he had no problem criticizing it and criticizing the way people behaved. So, or for people not to take his criticism seriously because they say, oh, anyway, he is not serving in the temple. So that's also an option that we should bear in mind. And that's a little bit about this verse. The second verse, Shim'u devar Adonai bet Yaakov v'chol mishpechot beit Yisrael. Here we have something very interesting in biblical poetry. Sometimes we expand, okay, certain term or add something to one of the parts of the parallelism to create balance between the two parts. Okay, so Bet Yaakov obviously is paralleled with Beit Yisrael, but an element was added to create V'chol Mishpechot, and all of the families of the house of Israel. The house of Israel is equivalent to house of Jacob. The name Jacob and Israel referred to the same person, hence to the same collective of descendants of that person. But because we have Shim'u devar Adonai, hear the word of the Lord, and obviously it is referring to everybody here, to the house of Jacob, which is the house of Israel and everything. In order to create balance, just from a poetic standpoint, in order to balance the tempo, in order to balance the meter, if you will, we don't have an actual meter, but in order to balance the number of accented syllables, we have v'chol mishpechot, and all of the families. And so it sounds balanced. Shim'u devar Adonai beit Yaakov v'chol mishpechot beit Yisrael. You can hear the balance between these two. Again, to learn more about the ancient geography of Israel, you can go to the video we did on the 17th of Tammuz, which was very well received. And you can join our groups and ask questions in the 2 question and answers hours that we hold every week. So that's it, and have a beautiful Shabbat.